Growing a business is hard, but it does not have to be. Once a week, we take a break from the hustle and bustle in business to talk about innovations and what's new in the C suite. This is the Fractional C Suite Retreat, and I'm Joseph Frost. Pull up a seat at the fire, grab a drink, smoke a cigar, and just join me as we relax, learn, and get inspired. This retreat is sponsored by your CMO, helping organizations grow with better marketing strategy. Welcome. I am excited for today's guest. She is not only a master bridge player, she is a pretty good tap dancer and has the luxury of vacationing 12 weeks per year. Today's guest is Jacquelyn Gernaey of 7-Star HR. Thanks for joining us, Jackie.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and how fun you picked out some fun things about me.
Yeah, we'll get into the tap dancing throughout, I'm sure. So one of the things I want to start with is just a common question I ask all our guests. It's what is one thing that you think C-suite leaders should be thinking about today that maybe they're not?
I think the biggest thing on a lot of people's minds is AI and the impact that it's going to have not only on them and their businesses, the C-suite people, on their organizations, and maybe some risk that they haven't thought about. So there's all sorts of things with AI that I think is going to be continuing to evolve.
Yeah, I do feel like that is a topic that's ever present, but also not being addressed because
Yep.
there's so much unknown and anxiety around it. And in my conversations with other business owners about AI, there's a small segment that's like all in, preparing, getting it integrated throughout the organization, and there's a large percentage that just doesn't know what to do. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, and in the HR world, because I I'm in the HR world. Of course, everybody is concerned that it's going to take their job, but the reality is they all need to be learning AI because businesses need to have AI thinking as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be important.
I feel the opportunity and the threat at the same time as AI taking your job. If you don't do anything about it, and I think this includes CEOs too and C-suite execs, if you don't do anything about it, somebody's going to come along that has and is going to be much more attractive to the organization than you are. So yes, it's potentially coming for you, but if you do something about it, you're going to be that person that has the extra value. That's the organization.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, in marketing, it's certainly taken a big swath at a lot of content creation and operations. And I can imagine on the HR side, both the kind of recruiting has been probably impacted greatly by AI as well as maybe some administrative. How is it impacting your business?
Well, I live in New York. In New York, they say you cannot use AI in hiring. So we haven't had to deal with that. But what I see outside of that is interviews being done by AI bots, and then taking information about the job and scoring people on it. So that is a little scary, wondering whether they're getting it or not. We've used AI in two places. We created something called the HR water cooler, which is an AI bot, closed system, not open. And that AI bot we teach it what their handbook says, because handbooks these days, with all the laws and state laws and federal laws and local laws, are it's too much for anybody to read. 45 pages. And so we created this so that the employees could ask this bot questions about what was in the handbook. I'm coming up on 5 years. How much vacation will I get when I'm at 5 years? And it saves the HR people if they have them, or it saves the business leaders, the C-suite people, from having to answer those questions or look it up themselves, because how are they going to remember everything? So that was one that we developed. We also brought in something called, it's an outplacement AI. And what it does is it's business owners use it as a way to get exiting employees to sign a release that they won't sue them. And they provide them this year-long program, and it will analyze them and see what jobs they might be good for, or be jobs good for them. It also keeps track of everything that they're looking at. It fixes their LinkedIn profile, their resume, even does some wellness, because people get a little freaked out
Sure.
when they don't have a job. So that's kind of cool. Those are our two into AI that we
Well,
released last year.
those are, I can see the value of both of those pretty clearly. I'm sure your clients can as well. I'm curious because I'm knee deep in, waist deep, maybe neck deep in AI myself for our business. I'm curious how you approached those two solutions. Did you bring in a vendor partner to build it for you, or did you decide to build it in-house and have some capabilities there? How- you know, Tell us how you did it, because that's very forward thinking considering what other companies are doing or not doing with AI.
So um, thinking big is one thing that I like to do. So maybe that's one of my skills, but I knew this was an issue. So I started looking for people who could build this for us. It started out, people said, oh, yes, we can do it. It's $100,000 and we'll get this done. Then it went to 70. Then it went to 50. Then it went to 20. And finally, someone said, how much do you want to pay? And I said, 2,500. And I ended up paying 37.50, but still a far cry. So we set the specs. They made it for us. We debugged it and we own it. It's not a SaaS model where by the number of people, they get any money. We own it outright. So that was that one. And the next one, they approached us with a product from Israel that they already had, and we evaluated it and looked like a really good deal. I know that business owners are looking to to do things for exiting employees so they don't sue them. Sign this and I'll give you that tit for tat stuff. And so we brought it on and branded it with our brand. And so that's how we did that one. So two totally different
Yeah, the
needs.
classic build versus buy right there. You built one
Exactly.
and you bought one.
I
And
bought one and I built one.
I love it. I love it. I think just the fact that you're leading in a couple of those areas with AI is a differentiator. Do you see your competitors doing similar work, or are you truly leading in this space in those two areas?
Some of the big payroll companies may be doing some things like this, but I don't see anybody that's really our competitors. I mean, we sell very differently. We use an affiliate partner program. And what I'm told is that is in itself is very different. No one else is doing that one to many people, so executive coaches or fractionals or whomever, anyone that's a trusted advisor that may want to bolt a little piece or a big piece of us onto what they offer.
And our CMOs are partnered with you and have the opportunity to bring your organization in as a fractional HR leader as necessary, or for some services that you've described as well when the timing's right. So that's kind of your model. Find organizations and people that have existing relationships that need that complementary,
Exactly.
trusted solution. Yeah.
Yeah, our mission is to help our affiliate partners make more money. That's kind of different from what many missions are.
Yes. Well, it speaks to most of your affiliates, I'm certain, the idea of earning more income without having to spend the time to do it. So it's the holy grail.
Exactly. It
Real
is.
money. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I was kind of prepping for our meeting, doing a little research on Claude about you, and several things came up. But one thing struck out at me is you were the first woman to buy a Tab franchise back in 1999.
I
Is that,
was at
is that
that.
true? Oh my gosh.
That
What
was I've had quite a few firsts. Back up one before that, I was the first female division president of in an $8.5 billion pharmaceutical company. So that was the real. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Um, but beyond that, yes, when I left that position and I actually sold the division I was in and said, now what? And I decided I was going to get into small business as a give back because I'd been in big corporate. And if I could take some big corporate stuff and put it into smaller business more financially effectively, then they could succeed. And so I've coached small businesses over 10,000 hours, and some have done very, very well.
Yes. Well, being first is awfully impressive, but then having done it for 18 plus years is really a unique position to be in as well. There's not many people that have coached that many different people. I imagine there's got to be like a framework or some insights that you could share across the board that you've learned about small business owners.
Well, I think the first thing that kind of differentiates me is I look at their business like a bicycle. The front wheel is their personal vision, and it should be steering the bike where they want to go personally. And the rear wheel is the power, the business, which should be powering the bicycle so that they can get to their personal vision. So that's kind of different. You can have goals. You should. That's great, but you should have personal goals as well as you should have business goals. And seeing some of those personal goals come to fruition is really fun.
I imagine that kind of culturally, the business owners from 20 years ago to today today's version might be more open to the idea of personal goals leading the business versus 20 years ago is all business, business, business. That's me subjectively making that statement. But do you see a
Uh,
trend towards
oh,
that?
listen, 20 years ago, we did not say you were getting coaching. That was looked at like you were on the couch and there was something wrong with you. Nowadays that isn't the case, but yeah, I actually did a book, Create the Business Breakthrough You Want, with a bunch of big guys. I did a chapter and they had a bunch of big guys. And that helped me create a reason for them to believe that I was going to be able to help them. And at this point now, there are lots of coaches. So
Right.
people don't think about that. Oh, Tiger Woods had a coach. This one had a coach. That has a coach. Everybody has a coach. So it's not that problem. But we didn't in the past call it coaching. We called it an executive meeting. So their employees didn't think they were going to lie down on a couch and get psychotherapy.
Yeah, now it's if you don't have a coach, something's wrong with you.
Exactly. Who's challenging you? Who's
Yeah.
all of those good things? Yes.
Well, I think that situation kind of is what spawned a little bit of the fractional world, and not necessarily exactly a fractional is a coach, but in the same kind of spirit. If a business owner does not have a senior strategic marketing leader on their team,
Mm-hmm.
a fractional can come in and in our world, a spectrum of ways to be just an advisor or a full, almost a full-time fractional leader inside the organization and anywhere in between. And that's similar to like having a coach. You don't know what you don't know, and bringing in expertise is a really smart way for business owners, small business owners specifically, to have a more healthy C team.
That whole, of course, there was no such thing as fractional way back. But that's this whole fractional concept of, hey, you can put somebody on their team fractionally and that they never could have afforded if they were full time. I can put a somebody in their organization 1 day a week, an HR high level HR person that for what it costs for an administrative person, and all of the different areas bringing in when you need and what you need. Fractionals are fabulous. And there's nothing better than fractional CMOs because, people will say to me, well, you've got all this HR risk. And I say, yes, but when we talked to our affiliate, they said they don't even have a sales funnel. So forget the HR stuff. They've got to have a sales funnel, right? Or they're going to go out of business. So I think having all of that experience coaching made me really focus on what really should come first and what's most important, and understand that our affiliate partners really are the ones that run the company. They own the company, their client. They own their client, and they get to choose and say, this is the most important right now, because they're in coaching them or they're in creating a marketing plan, whatever it is they're in doing, they know what's happening. And that's really important.
So you left kind of the tab facilitation role and started Seven Star because you saw some needs that were common amongst your people, execs you coached. How has that transition been from coach back into now running your own fractional HR, full service HR company?
Well, I've found a really big need. I had a coachee. It's because of a coachee that I started with Seven Star who said to me, Jackie, I know you're here to teach me in quotes how to fish, but when it comes to HR and hiring, I don't want any coaching. I want somebody to catch the fish, fry it in the pan, and feed it to me. And I'm like, well, that's not coaching, of course. So that was really the birth of Seven Star HR and Effective Hiring, our branded service. Because they, after some asking people, what did they think about this? They said, oh, yeah, employees, they should be great, but sometimes they're a necessary evil. And if I could say to them, when they come to complain to me, Sue's going to be here on Tuesday, talk to Sue, that would be heaven.
So I have two questions for you on hiring. The first is, your hiring process seems to have a really high, or claims to have a really high success rate. What is it and how is it so high?
So our process, we start by benchmarking the job as to the behaviors, motivators, soft skills salary range, intelligence needed. So we benchmark that, and that helps us really create the online questions with our applicant tracking system that helps screen out people. And I have got probably, I call her my crazy lady, who's in charge of our hiring. And I say she's crazy because she loves this 24/7. If you're going to do a good job hiring, you've got to be looking at every day of the week. You've got to look at who's coming in. You've got to be reaching out to LinkedIn and bringing people in. So you've got to do all sorts of different things to get them in. You can't just throw an ad on Indeed and sit back and wait. And especially since Indeed has done something within the last few years that people don't really even know about. Because they have a database of resumes, what happens is when the AI reads the job ad, they go and look for people in their database who have not applied, and they put them in as if they'd applied, which makes everybody say, these people are ghosting me. No, they never really applied. So, which most people don't know, right? I saw Career Builder do it back in the day too. So there you go. So the process then is taking them through that, doing a Wonderlic, which is intelligence based on how quickly you can learn, comparing their behaviors, motivators, and soft skills to what the job benchmark said, creating, using behavioral interview questions to really pull out who are the best. And so, yeah, we're able to, in somewhere between 30 and 60 days, get pretty much any level of person that they need. We don't do CEO searches because those are the people we're usually working for, but we do every other level from shop floor up.
Yeah, it's impressive. I saw some really good numbers on that front. So the follow-up question to that is, now that AI is coming for people's jobs, have you actually seen any impact on requests for hiring? Do you see it up, down, indifferent? I mean, is AI making an impact on the hiring marketplace?
I haven't seen it. What I have seen is the impact of chaos, especially with tariffs. Tariffs are on, they're off, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off. And people don't know. Anytime there's chaos, and I've seen this in every election, presidential election, you would think that the next day the world was going to change after they were elected, but for some reason, unknown causes people not to want to hire. So I've seen that more than I've seen any AI.
That's good. That's very interesting. What about I've got a good friend he's no longer in the PEO business, but he always told me, Joe, I started this business because I did the things that most business owners hated doing and were most at risk for not doing, which was the admin side of HR. And you do that as well. You do the hiring side and the admin side. Do you see that being a service offering that people kind of neglect traditionally because it is onerous and boring and administrative?
Well, it's funny because I've been into places where the CEO gives the administrative person the bill to pay for the benefits and then says, you know what? You're in charge of HR now. And so, I don't recommend that, but I have seen that. Yeah, we do total anything that deals with employees. And I'll tell you, we use something called an HR MRI assessment, self-created, and it looks at compliance, best practices, and vendor best practices that relate to employees. And it gives us the critical, the major, and the administrative issues. And those critical ones some of them can put them totally out of business. And it's something that, I'll give you one as an example that people don't usually think about, and that is harassment training, anti-harassment training. If somebody in your organization cries harassment and you have not done any training, you don't have a policy, and it goes to the judge, he's going to throw the book at you. And I've seen people just nearly going out of business from that kind of situation. So something as simple as just get a policy and do the training, right? But yes, there are all sorts of risks that you can have, and we mitigate those risks. We also do employee management, all of the yap, we get in the middle of all of that so that the business owner doesn't have to.
What's your take on outsourcing? Nearshore, offshore, just in general, for organizations that are using that as a source of labor?
I think there are some very good places where people should be offshoring. Even for small businesses, you're starting out and you don't want to hire someone, these executive assistants that used to run in the big corporations, they ran the show, that can do a lot of the administrative work for the CEO, and that part is really, really good. So I think that's important. It's nearly impossible to find an accountant for an accounting firm these days. It's one of the few that I said we will not guarantee. We'll find them, but I won't guarantee that it's going to be 60 days. They have so few, and every 2 years they all rotate to another company, so it's really difficult. And I think that, I have a client that does manufacturing offshore. Not as attractive as it once was with the whole shipping. I mean, we went through that COVID shipping container at 14,000 a container instead of 2,500. So some of that is a little scary still for them. And software development is the other area that I find I see quite a lot of people either getting it developed or helping to get it implemented, like Salesforce or Zoho or some of those biggies.
Yeah, as a HR professional, fractional HR, there's a lot of ways to get work done these days, from fractional executives to outsourced, offshore, nearshore, full-time staff to AI assistants and agents. So you're in this area where you're expected to be able to probably give some of that fiduciary advice on what should go outsourced, what should stay US based, whether or not a fractional makes sense, where to add AI, where not to add AI. There's a whole slew of options for our business
and
owners.
Then it's virtual versus in-person employees. Yes. Don't forget that, because of course in COVID that was a big change, and then they've tried to a lot of them have tried to bring people back who are really not interested in that. Even the posters that you're supposed to post on the wall for HR. Well, how are you going to do that if it's virtual? You got to set something up so they can a virtual poster site.
I had a friend
Everything changes.
I had a friend who he actually owned a company, and all he did was provide those compliance posters nationwide. Like, and then when COVID hit, he developed essentially a proof, like a virtual email that would go out to the employee, click that you received your virtual poster, and then they were able to at least say they provided it. And then he
Yep,
sold out shortly afterwards. He hit the big button. That was a big deal for him.
there you go.
Yeah.
And it was going to swing back the other way. So that was a good time for him to spend.
Yes, it was. Well, what's next on the horizon for Seven Star HR?
Well, we're continuing to grow in the affiliate. And we're doing, I would say this is going to be the year of doing some interesting marketing for to help our affiliate partners. I'm looking at 8-second videos. What do you think of that? 8-second videos. So on all of the
Sounds like the old Vine days when Vine first came out. That was all the rage, the 8-second video.
but let's say you have something, whether it's 8 or 10 seconds, whatever. But let's say you have we do the HRMRI and we come up with all these terrible things, and you as the affiliate partner don't know best how to sell them or where to start or which one's worse or how do I go about this. So we're taking the HRMRI and we're going to break it down into some videos, very short videos to help that they can brand and send out to their clients as well to say, hey, all right, we did the HRMRI. We've got to fix this.
I like it. I mean, videos, such a powerful
It
way.
really is.
You've got, there's a lot of ways you can go with that. You could have a digital asset management system that had a whole series of these 8-second videos pre-made, and then based on the MRI, it could pull out the relevant
And
one.
that's exactly what our plan is. Get a whole bunch. And I'm doing a review of the HRMRI that hasn't been done to this level. I'm almost finished. But from when I created it many, many years ago, we've added and added and added, and now we need to kind of comb its hair and get it smoothed out. So
You could also create an AI tool that built the
I
video.
could do that.
Yes.
I could do that.
That's the kind of thing we're getting into as we're building agentic agents for our clients, trying to decide, you've got two routes. You can have a library or you could build from scratch just with AI video. And then it matters what the customer or your client is going to react to. Are they going to be turned off by the AI?
We've already decided it's going to be a bot. A robot. We have something called Sven, our mascot, our HRMRI mascot. It's going to be a lot easier for Sven to tell them, you got to do this and be direct than it is for a person, because a person they would think is rude doing that, but a little cartoonish animated stethoscope, which is what he is, it's going to be easier for him to do that. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's exciting. That'll be interesting to see how you do that. Well, I want to say thank you, Jackie. This has been great. But before we leave, I want to ask you to tell us a little bit about this. You shared with me before that you have between 1 and 5 children. What is that?
So I have one biological child that I birthed. I have 2 boys that I adopted that are older, 10 years older than The younger one is 10 years older than my daughter. I've got a stepdaughter. And then we took on an exchange student maybe 35 years ago. And she kind of adopted us. And her kids call us grandma and grandpa. And so there's the other one. So yes, somewhere between 1 and 5, depending on how you count it.
And that's how you that's why you need the 12 weeks of vacation. You've got
Yes,
people
I
all
need
over.
12 weeks of vacation. Some are in Sweden, some are in Texas. I've got some in Kansas City. Yes.
All
And I've
over.
got one that's local.
Well, we have
Yeah.
4 children, none local, 1 in Philly, 2 in Denver, 1 in San Fran. And we travel a little bit, not quite as much as you do, but it's important to be able to get out and see them when you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the fun part, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's why we work, so we can play.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, again, thanks for your time today. I really appreciated having you as a guest on the show. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun to share with you.
Yes. And thank you for our audience. If you want to reach out to Jackie, her information is right here on the screen. But if you're not watching this and you're listening it's Jackie at 7starhr.com. And don't forget to like our show, download our show. Our producers tell me I need to remind people of that every time. So thank you for listening, and check back in for our next episode.
And that's a wrap. There's another successful episode of the Fractional C-Suite Retreat. See our show notes and more episodes at fractionalcsuiteretreat.com. This podcast is sponsored by Your CMO, helping organizations grow, save time and money with better marketing strategy and fractional execution. Visit them at yorcmo.com, yourcmo.com. Spelled wrong on purpose.